Ravi had a dream. He wanted to play the sitar, not just play it, but master it. Not for fame, not for applause. He simply loved the sound. It felt like something deep inside him was trying to speak, and the sitar was the voice. But the first time he tried, it was awful. His fingers stumbled. The notes rang sharp. His timing was off. It didn't sound like music. It sounded like frustration. He practiced again the next day, and the next. But progress was slow, and the voice in his head grew louder than the instrument in his hands. "You're not talented. You started too late. You'll never catch up." One afternoon, after a particularly rough session, he put the sitar down and sat on the floor, defeated. That's when his uncle, who had been quietly listening from the next room, entered. "You know," he said, "when I was your age, I tried learning the tabla." Ravi looked up, surprised. "I was terrible," his uncle continued. "Worse than you." Ravi didn't smile. "But one teacher told me something I never forgot," he said, sitting beside him. He said, "Your job isn't to be great. Your job is to return tomorrow." Ravi didn't say anything at first. He just looked at the sitar, still sitting there, still silent. It hadn't changed, but something in how he saw it had. The next morning, he didn't wait for motivation. He didn't try to feel inspired. He just sat down and practiced. 10 minutes turned into 20. His fingers hurt. The sound was still uneven, but he kept going. That night, he wrote a single line in his notebook. Showed up. No magic, just effort. The days passed like that. Quiet, repetitive, unremarkable. No breakthroughs, no perfect moments. But something strange began to happen. His fingers missed less often. The notes began to connect, and once in a while, just briefly, it actually sounded like music. One evening, his uncle walked by and paused. "You're not fighting the instrument anymore," he said. Ravi looked up. "What do you mean?" "You're listening to it now. You're letting it teach you." Ravi didn't understand it fully, but he felt it. Maybe mastery wasn't about pushing harder. Maybe it was about staying long enough to let something unfold. Ravi began to lose track of time when he practiced. What used to feel like effort now felt more like rhythm. The strings no longer fought his fingers. They followed. He stopped counting mistakes. He stopped checking progress. He just kept showing up. Some evenings, the notes still broke apart. Some days, his hands still ached. But the voice in his head had changed. It didn't ask, "Are you good yet?" It asked, "Did you come back today?" One afternoon, his uncle sat beside him and listened silently as Ravi played. When he finished, the old man didn't say, "Good job." He said, "You sound like someone who knows the difference between practicing and proving." Ravi looked over. "What's the difference?" "Practicing is about getting better. Proving is about getting approval." Ravi sat with that for a while. He realized that for weeks, no one had complimented him, and yet, he hadn't stopped, because the reason he kept going had changed. It wasn't about who was listening. It was about who he was becoming. Note by note, repetition by repetition. One evening, After a quiet dinner, Ravi sat outside with his sitar resting on his lap. He didn't have a goal that night. No piece to perfect. No performance to prepare for. He just wanted to play. The breeze moved slowly. The sky above was quiet. And as his fingers moved across the strings, something felt aligned. Not perfect. Not powerful. Just honest. His uncle, watching from the doorway, said nothing. But he noticed the stillness in Ravi's posture, the calm in his pace, the way the sound came not from force, but from flow. After he finished playing, Ravi looked up and asked, "Do you think I'm good now?" His uncle replied, "You're asking the wrong question." Ravi waited. "You're not here to be good. You're here to become." Ravi looked down at the sitar, same instrument, same hands. But he felt different now, like he wasn't chasing music anymore. He was carrying it. And that shift, quiet, small, unannounced, meant more than any applause ever could. The next week, the school announced a cultural evening. Students could perform music, dance, poetry, whatever they loved. Ravi saw the poster on the notice board. He read it once, then walked away. That night, during practice, his uncle asked, "Are you going to sign up?" Ravi shrugged. "I don't know if I'm ready." His uncle raised an eyebrow. "Ready for what? Playing or being judged?" Ravi paused. He realized he wasn't afraid of the music. He was afraid of how it might be received. But then he thought about all the quiet mornings, all the evenings he had returned to the sitar, the mistakes, the soreness, the invisible progress, and he asked himself, do I really need someone to tell me I'm good, to share something I love? The next day, he wrote his name on the sign-up sheet. No announcement, no drama, just a name, just a yes. That night, his practice didn't change. He wasn't working for a show. He was showing up for himself, like he always had, because now he understood. Persistence isn't about chasing results. It's about keeping a promise to yourself. The evening of the performance arrived. Backstage was loud, nervous chatter, last-minute tuning, deep breaths. Ravi sat quietly with his sitar in his lap, calm, focused. He didn't feel fearless, but he didn't feel small either. When his name was called, he walked onto the stage. No spotlight, no introduction, just him, his instrument, and a silent room. He sat, adjusted the strings, and began to play. No dramatic opening, no rush to impress. Just one note, then another, then flow. The room faded away. There was no audience, no scoreboard, only sound, only presence. When he finished, there was a brief pause, then quiet applause, gentle, sincere. Ravi stood, bowed once, and walked off the stage, lighter than when he walked on. His uncle met him backstage, smiling but not clapping. "You played for the right reason," he said. Ravi nodded. He didn't need to explain, because in that moment, he knew. Success isn't in trophies, talent, or timing. It's in showing up again and again when no one's watching, It's in loving something enough to stay with it through silence, through struggle, through doubt. And when you do that long enough, you don't just play the music, you become it.